Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 371. Today is Saturday, May 29, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. This coffee is so good right now. Excuse me. So, there is quite a lot to show. I have a spreadsheet, as you do, and I don't know, some other shenanigans probably as well. But what would it be? There was so much spinning yesterday. What would it be? So it'd be the case where Stash Dash started yesterday. I did not start off with as much of a bang as some did, but what would it be? I wasn't saving projects since February. From my accounting, what would it be? Like, I think in years past I might have not finished some things in April, but I did finish a knitting project in April. But I hadn't finished any spinning since like mid-March. Part of that was one of the skeins ended up being like a little bit of a slog for me, at least. So, such is life. And then it's been a fairly busy early afternoon for me as well. It was sort of a case where it's like my stomach was crumbling and like, what can I eat quickly? I opted for brie and toast. But I ended up doing a live stream earlier today about drum carding some pads, and now after looking at the finished thing, it's like, could I have made this more beautiful? So I may need to sit down and have a good think about how it is that I want to proceed exactly. Such is life. So, what would it be? But I probably should start with a little bit of knitting content, because that is what I usually do. But honestly, I'm wondering whether or not I've even worked on the shawl this week. So this is What the Fade by Andrea Mowry, and I can't remember whether or not I've even moved this marker. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. You can't even see the marker. Did I work on the shawl this week, or is this last week's progress? I think it's last week's progress. I'm not sure I picked this bad book up. I have been primarily focused on other things, which is fine. I'm not too worried about it. I think I'm going to put the marker in Will of Dangerous and put it in there. But yeah, no, this project did get a lot of love on it this week because it is huge and far from being done. I will probably end up giving it a little bit more love soon. It just sort of depends on where my knitting needs are. I did a lot of spinning this week, so I think that's where I'm at right now. Oh well, now we're nicely incremented for the next time. So that is What the Fade. I'm doing an extended brioche version of it that I don't think anyone has ever done before. I am keeping the cool side separate from the warm side. I'm really excited with how it's turning out. It just wasn't what I ended up knitting this week. I was very focused on trying to get the 3mm needles out of this project. I am not yet there. don't know, like if you hold up the sweater, I can look at the sweater and be like, yeah, no, there's something out of proportion here. It is not quite long enough yet. So when I tried it on last, it definitely needed more inches, but I did get a lot knit on it early in the week, and then I got distracted by spinning. So you can very clearly see the markers here. So I managed to get a couple of inches stuck on this. Yeah, I nearly have 3 inches knit on this. When I talked with you last week, I was like, yeah, no, it's probably going to take 3 more inches before I start the ribbing. That may be a lie. Maybe the pattern is set up to be like more of a cropped length. Yeah, so where I'm at right now should be the point where you start the ribbing. And I was thinking maybe I needed it to be a little shorter, so I'll need to try it on. Whatever, the lighting is special today. Would it be, as you can tell by my ghostly, it's like, let's shade out the fog light from coming in here. Yeah, so the lighting's a little wonky right now. Or would it be? On foggy days, like it's just like a little bit dim and the whole sky is white. And so all of that bright white is streaming into the window. And my window is sort of filthy too. I need to sit down and do some window washing. And the problem is, like, all of the windows I look out over on the second floor of the house, so it's a little annoying, but whatever. So I need to try this on and figure out if I need to go another inch. But the good news is, at the very least, I have made it to the point indicated in the pattern. I have basically knit the 3 inches I thought I was supposed to do last week, because I would be very excited to get this on the ribbing needles so I can either finish this or start cranking on the boxy repair. So this guy here is a Fluff the Stuff project. I specifically spun this yarn last year for Tour de Fleece, so the background blue, which you can see, it's stripy hand spun goodness, but not too obnoxious. And then the yoke, or whatever, so the blue is Three Waters Farm, the background blue, and the yoke is some nestlets. The yoke and sleeves are some nestlets that I spun to make it look like Spin Cycle. For which I feel like I was very successful in that endeavor. So, I don't know. I can't, like, how far away the camera is, I don't think I can show the subtle color in the right way, but oh well. So, I need to try this on. I need to figure out if it is my preferred sweater length yet. If it is not yet my preferred sweater length, then I'm going to have to put more time on the body. Hinterland Gensline class. And knit on my favorite needles. So many projects have done this, and I have plenty of yarn. There is no danger of running out of yarn here. Like, I've definitely depleted the ball nicely, but no danger of running out. What's going to be going on my needles later today is I need to do repair on this set of fingerless gloves. This buddy looks fine, but you can see the sadness. The bind off has come off on that finger. So I need to rip back, maybe knit a round or two, and bind off again. Should be fairly straightforward to do, and then weave in the ends. Maybe I'll also take it as an opportunity to weave in a little bit in the corners of these, because this was, I think, I don't know, this wasn't the first time that I had put on, this wasn't the first time that I had put fingers on the gloves, but I think I've gotten better at hiding it since then. So Then I'll do a quick weigh, and this will be an easy win for Stash Bash. The easiest of the repairs. The hardest of the repairs with my probably, I don't know, probably 125 grams of knitting left to go is my boxy. And I do need to pop the stitches back on because they did slide off. It's going to be very interesting doing the needle transfer because I don't have a mini to regular or mini to small bridge in my Xiaogu accoutrements. But right now I picked this up on mini needles using something that I think I had laying around. I don't know, maybe I do have a US tube lying around, who knows, but boxy is now no longer high-low. I'm going to knit an inch or two in the round, and then I will start my high-low hem from where I have my markers, from where my high-low hem used to be, but I'll be making short rows that shrink instead of short rows that grow. And that means that when I'm doing sort of that short cadence back and forth, I won't be constantly going over my short rows, because that ended up sort of creating a strange pucker in the fabric. And then when I run out of blue, I'll launch into the ribbing with the gray. I'll probably have to figure out what size needles I ended up using for that. It's been a while. That was, what would it be, something that I believe I finished the boxy on the drive from Dallas to San Francisco when we were moving all of our stuff here. So we shall see. But that's sort of, roughly speaking, the constellation of works in progress right now, based on how much needs to get done where. I will probably keep focusing on the hinterland, because it would be really nice to get that wrapped up. It is currently 62 in the house. We'll have to turn on the furnace tonight. The furnace is off right now, but it probably shouldn't be that way. I wrote a piece, like it's fog season. It's generally 57 here. It is no exception right now. As you do. But most of the action this week has been spinning. In a lovely break, work has a policy in which they give you like an extra sort of vacation day, and they sort of shut down so that people actually use their vacation time during COVID. At some point it's gonna end. But for now, Memorial Day weekend, which is this weekend, is one of the ones that got an extra vacation day added onto it. So I had all day Friday off. I managed to wake up at a semi-reasonable time, or fairly, I don't know, I didn't get to sleep in. But one of the benefits of not sleeping in was I was actually able to participate in a Stash Dash Kickoff Zoom, which was a lot of fun because I was not working, and it was a very nice gathering of people. I managed to almost finish something on screen while that was occurring, but it ended up giving some time to like hang out with people and talk, and it's always very lovely to connect people's voices with their posts, because then when I read them in the future, it can sound like that. So I managed to get a lot of yarn finished because I had been saving it since sometime in April. So I finally got to ply. But the first thing that I did yesterday was I finished the singles for this. Whoa, that's glowing. um, and I didn't end up applying this in my giant plyathon yesterday because A, I ran out of time to apply everything in my plyathon. And yeah, no, it wasn't worth trying to chain ply for singles. Though this is, yeah, like, you can see there, like, this is pretty chill in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully the weight isn't too variable. It was the case where it didn't want, or what would it be? So this is a fiber optic gradient in the ink to powder colorway. It is 80% merino, 20% silk. They're very gorgeous. I had collected a few, I've spun a few. And this one I'm actually going to spin like what most people do spin it. So I spun my singles end to end as it came in the braid. And then you end up getting this really cool color shift effect that's going on. So there's, now that you guys can tell, like this is like a very nice little baby blue. So let's see if we can get it. Oh, there we go. And you can see a little bit of the color transitions that are going on here. And I packed a very neat bobbin for this. But I managed to sort of get through that last baby blue section, so I'm gonna chain ply this. It's had its 24 hours to rest, and that's gonna be at some point probably, or something that's gonna be hopping on the wheel soon. Right now the wheel is empty because I've taken off a ton of yarn, which is very exciting. And I think based on how packed this bobbin is, I'm going to chain ply this on my jumbo bobbin just to be safe. It should be fine, but whatever. It's not worth dealing with. So this will continue to boost my totals for Stash Dash. This one won't be a super huge contribution because it's not a whole lot of total fiber, but not too crazy. So this was what I finished spinning yesterday. It's now had its nice rest. I then launched into the plyathon. So during the Zoom, I managed to mostly ply this, and then I had a couple of tweaks that I ended up doing to sort of get that last little bit nice. So this is a 4-ply DK weight Jacob, and this is my mostly white part of it. And so in terms of yardage, I managed to get 148 yards out of the roughly 2 ounces of fiber here, which brings me whatever sort of on that sport to DK weight amount. What I'm probably going to end up doing is using this as the main color because I definitely have way more yardage of this. And then what I moved on to was the gray skein. So this is, what would it be, 112 yards of 4-ply. And this one is 112 means I'm pretty solidly in the worsted category here. Or would it be, roughly speaking. And this one might actually be sort of almost bordering to sport. So for some reason I spun this a little bit finer than that. But I feel like I hit my targets pretty well in the grand scheme of things. And they ended up, whatever, in terms of Stash Dash yards, this was like 682, and this one was 517. But basically Stash Dash yards are number of plies plus plying. Number of plies plus plying is the multiplier for the total length you end up getting. So fairly good contribution there. I might need to make a intermediary column in my spreadsheet. which is not the running total, but is the percentage. So we'll add that to the list. So in terms of the percentage of completion, what would it be? This one was like 3.5. This one was 4.5. But these were nice and small and fast and easy to do. So not too crazy there. Oh, now I can look at my face and see the spreadsheet. So these aren't high contrast, but they do contrast. And I think that's going to capture the spirit of Carl the Fog very nicely, because Carl is more like a filter on life. And then because I was applying this from 2 center pole balls, I ended up would be figuring out like a pretty good method to deal with the leftovers. So every last bit of the fiber turned into 4-ply here. When I ran out of one of the center pole balls, I basically straightened the fiber out, holding the 2 remaining strands until I reached the end, and then I whacked that in. And I tried just sort of leaving a tail in the ends, but that didn't hide very well, so I actually ripped it out, broke the tails, and that ended up being a better way of sort of hiding it in there. And I ended up using it on 2 other projects as well. So, not too crazy there. Got this. This is going to make a very lovely hat. I even have the perfect pom-pom for it when the time comes. And based on sort of the yardage requirements for the bigger sizes, it was actually calling for having more of the darker color. That's sort of like the background, but I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine to invert. It shouldn't be too crazy. So that is the story there. So that would be not my usual colors for sure. But I think it'll be a fun project. The next one that I ended up needing, the first one that I ended up scanning off, which is why it is the first one in my spreadsheet, is this guy. So this is some of the bats that I ended up carding earlier, and I arranged it into sort of a rough gradient, which you can sort of see in the skein itself. So it is 4 ounces of Dorset horn and 4 ounces of Leicester longwool. And then I ended up making fairly chunky, low twist singles for me. For me. And so I managed to get a worsted weight chain ply. Hey! Maybe a DK weight. It might count as DK. Does that? Is that true? Yeah, it might be closer to DK. But, would it be? But I think I ended up making some pretty nice yarn here. I knew with the Leicester longwool that it was not going to feel good if I put too much twist in. And so that was the primary thing that I was thinking about as I was spinning it. But I'm really loving how subtle the color is because of the layered bat that I ended up creating. So even though this is chain plied, there's still a decent amount of variation in color here. Because of the fact that the color was shifting in the single, and so you don't end up getting the sense of things being all the same color laying on top of each other with the chain ply. One downside to having this be a longwool is that my chains are fairly obvious in this. I don't know if you can even, I don't even know if you guys can see, but because it is a longwool, you can see where the chains are, but I tried to get the wheel as far as possible so my chains could be at least an arm length long. Would it be like shifting everything around in order to make that work? And then it goes from sort of a powdery blue and gray in regions like this to what would be a fairly dark blue and gray mixed together. So it was a case where I was very impressed with like how blue seeming it all was in the end, because there was a fairly significant amount of gray in here as well. But it just like on the bobbin, it just looked way more blue than I was expecting. So I think I made some pretty good yarn with the Leicester long wool is going to be a more challenging fiber for me. What it be? It's not merino soft. The Dorset horn is apparently a down breed, and so that definitely added, I think, some pretty nice softness to it. So this ended up being 536 yards, and that made it 1,979 stash yards, which is 13% of the total. Much more significant. So because this was a chain ply, its multiplier was 4 instead of 5 for the other ones. But not too crazy. What would it be? I don't quite know what I'm going to do with it, but 8 ounces of DK is a pretty sizable amount of yarn, so I am excited about that. Yeah, would it be a little bit out of my normal, so I called it neutral but make it blue. Would it be? And so the fiber from this, the Leicester, came from Clemes & Clemes with their Good Clean fiber, and that was a Shave 'em to Save 'em breed from that particular class. And then the blue came from Cheryl of the 1764 Studio, and so the blue was from the Camp Spin and 15 in 2020. So should be good. It'll be exciting to give this a bath. And then the one that like didn't quite well, no, there's nothing. It was a case where I started spinning this guy at the beginning of the spin 15 a day meetup on Friday. There was still a pretty good long time after that ended up wrapping up before I'd even finished it. So it was like a solid 4 hours of plying just in this, maybe a little bit more. It might have been 5. And I managed to not get things perfect. So this is my fruit salad. So this has 50% Florida cracker, which is also a Shave 'em to Save 'em breed, and then, or whatever, I have 4 ounces of Florida cracker in this, and then I have 4 ounces of what I think is hand-dyed merino top. And so I ended up making layered baths with this fiber. I separated the cool tones, the greens, from the warm tones, which were sort of like a pink and orange. After doing my sampling, I decided that I wanted to do a 4-ply of it. I ended up winding my pinks and oranges into a centerfold ball, and my, I left my greens on the bobbins because I had split them in the middle once I sort of realized what I wanted to do. So I ended up getting a mini, which turned out to be 39.25 grams, or 39.25 yards, which is 1.2% of my stash. 1.2% of my stash total. And then this guy ended up being, 823 yards. So pretty healthy skein there. So I managed to get a 4-ply fingering. Very excited about that. This yarn is so freaking fun. It's going to be so hard to find. I think it's going to be really hard to find a good pattern for it, but it does make me happy. It does make me happy. So What would it be? I'm gonna have to figure out the right thing for it. Like, this reminds me of the Trekking XXL in the best possible way. One of the things that we were debating about last night was if it would end up making like really cute leg warmers. Who knows? There's absolutely no blue in this. That's also an interesting thing about that. So this ended up being 25% of my stash total. So in terms of meters, it was 3,798 stash yards because my multiplier got to be 5. So very cool, very fun to actually make a couple of traditional 4-plies. So I managed to get worsted weight, DK weight, sport weight, and fingering weight, all with all of this fun stuff. So I still need to weigh them, and I still need to post pictures on Instagram. But overall, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I really like the feel of this yarn quite a bit. It was a little bit of a concern that maybe the Florida Cracker would be a little too crunchy, but this is nice. I am very pleased with how this turned out. So let's see if we can bring it close enough to show the majesty. Isn't this fun? So much fun. And the colors shift fairly quickly. So that's why I know for a fact this is going to end up being a fairly busy yarn. Because this isn't going to be like a long color repeat stripey, like this isn't going to be reminiscent of Spin Cycle, but there's just like so many like fun pops of color in this. Like I don't in some ways like it's sort of showing up on the screen maybe dominated by the orange, but the finished scheme exceeded my expectations for like the little swatch that I ended up making. So what would it be? So I didn't end up having any leftovers of the orange and pink, but I'm pretty sure if you compare these, like, what would it be? I think I ended up getting something even better than the swatch seemed to indicate. And then I have my mini, which, I don't know, this particular swatch I don't think quite captured how the mini actually turned out on its own. So what would it be? So this guy was actually chain ply, so maybe that's why they look fairly different, because I got really good color mixing here. So this guy will be less busy of a yarn. So it has the foresty green, the lime green, and then white in it as well. And really the white's sort of there to sort of just modulate the whatever. It's adding a little bit of tint to this. But like it feels so good, man. I'm excited. So this will probably be a backup skein for whenever I end up knitting a project with the fruit salad one. So this will just be waiting in the wings, so I could do like a contrasting bind off or something like that if it turns out to be like a shawl, or it'd be the case where if I decide to do something like leg warmers or something like that, I could do like a couple rows at the beginning and end with this. Because like, what would it be? Like, what, close to 40 yards is a fairly thin fit. I know it's probably like close to 10 grams here. So, not too crazy. Oh, it's nice. So, that is the story with all of the finished spinning, all of the work in progress spinning, and then I have my conundrum. So I pulled out, would it be this 50/50 merino alpaca, which this is a little bit more pink in real life, but obviously my webcam doesn't like pink. And then I pulled out this Polworth silk. One of these pieces is smaller than the others. And this is like in gorgeous sunset colors. So the merino alpaca from Black Bunny Fibers. And it is in the Scandal colorway. And then this Polworth silk is from Fiber Optic, and its colorway name is Tapestry. So I had 6 ounces of this, 4 ounces of this, and I was planning on drum carding it all together. So in my live today, I ended up fluffing it, or what it would be, I'd already sort of, roughly speaking, split everything into tenths, then broke it apart, because I like pulling sliver from 1 ounce bats. So I ended up breaking it all apart, making the layers, what would it be, carding a bat on air. There may or may not actually be anything that's happening on the end because my internet went weird. But, okay, here we go. These colors, not in the bat. These colors in the bat. So, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about how this turned out. So I basically made a 4-layer layered bat like I had for, what would it be, for like the Blue and Neutral project and then my fruit salad project. But I'm not sure that I like it as much as like this. So I'm wondering if I need to do something else or just sort of accept the plan as is. Because what would it be? I haven't spun it yet. Would it be? But it would be the case where you could just do math and whatever. It's 60% of this lighter purple and then 40% of these deeper tones. And I really love the deeper tones. So I don't know, like it looks a bit like magic. So maybe I just need to relax and trust the project, and if it turns out terrible, I can overdye it blue. That's my solution to everything. If it turns out terrible, add more blue. So there would be, but there was like this crazy swirling thing where it's like, maybe I make like 1 more of these and then split that out so that I actually have, would it be, or split this out in such a way where I actually have like my darker tones with a little bit of this lighter purple, and then I have the lighter purple all by itself, and then sprinkle in a little bit of this already made one. But I think I'm just gonna go for it. So I have 9 more of these bats to make. It's gonna take a long time. I don't know whether or not I'm actually going to get around to finishing it, but this is gonna be the first of my like Tour de Fleece projects, as you do. And then the other thing that I was pondering about was whether or not I wanted to, what would it be, do anything else. So one thing that I ended up pulling out as like another possible Tour de Fleece project is some of this Hello yarn, and then some of my dyed fiber. But for For some reason, the other one is much harder to get to. No joke, guys. So, I have this fin. Come on, webcam, you can do it. So I have this fin. And then, what's this? And merino. I was thinking that these guys would be really, really super gorgeous as a sweater spin. So this is 8 ounces. This is 8 ounces. There's all sorts of gorgeousness going on in here. So I think it's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to do it in a combo spin way. I'm going to do it a combo draft way. No, but I am very excited about this prospect. So this is probably the most Molly skein that I ended up dyeing the whole time. So it's got all sorts of lovely shades of blue in it. But obviously a fiber explosion is happening down here. It wasn't my intent. We have decreased the integrity of the fiber stack down here. Oh well. And then the other one that I pulled out I can't even find it in here. It's a little bit challenging right now. But would it be spinning the bumps will help a lot with how much volume my fiber stash is taking right now. But I also pulled out my potential spindle project. And what I ended up deciding was to throw in some of the merino angora blend that I ended up getting last October with the hobbledehoy batlings I ended up getting at SSK a few years ago. So unfortunately hobbledehoy is no longer dyeing. So I can't get more of the fiber. I ended up getting 2 batling sets, so they're like 2 ounces a piece. So one of them is blue and one of them is gray. And then the merino angora blend is, would it be like a little bit sandier colored, if that makes any sense. So I'm wondering if I want to dye the merino angora blue and put together some bats of it after I dye it, because I don't have high confidence. I don't have high confidence that I will be able to make what would it be? Don't have high confidence that I will be able to make a nice prep with this sort of dyeing setup that I have right now. So I have like a pan. But it would be the case, I think, maybe what I'm leaning to now is sort of recreating the navy color that I ended up getting that I ended up putting together as a part of my big gradient Mesa sweater wrap, which meant taking the blue dye but also adding some black in, which is a little bit touch and go with the with the food coloring way. I still haven't gotten around to mixing my Mother Mackenzie dye powder yet. What would it be? Like, the way that I'm comfortable right now would actually be to end up making stock, and they have like a procedure for how to make the dye stock. So it may just be the case where I need to collect a lot of containers to hold 2% stock solution and call it good. We shall see. So I'm thinking about that, but not this weekend. I feel like I'm already a little bit, I'm feeling a little overcommitted with how much I've decided to do this weekend. So, dinner's gonna be really late tonight. I'm making gumbo, but I haven't made the roux yet, and that's gonna be at least half an hour. And then the actual making of this stuff is going to be a while, and yeah. Should have started that earlier. Oh well, it'll be okay. But yeah, no, it's like gloomy and cold, and it doesn't feel like the start of summer at all. But that might just be me trying to change my perspective on what it means for it to be summer in San Francisco. But what would it be? Hopefully I managed to spend sufficient time on all of the good stuff I ended up creating. I'm gonna do one more peek at my Jacob, because I don't know that I properly showed how gorgeous this is. It is so perfectly heathered, guys. This is totally the effect you get in hand spun. That's very, very hard to replicate elsewhere. Now we'll hold them all up at once, because like I finished a lot of yarn this week. So much so, you can gotta be very subtle, this hat. Finished so much yarn this week. I want to make sure I give it its proper due. I don't know, maybe I'll end up changing plans. And do like a different sort of blending, I'm not sure. But what would it be? It's not merino, this Jacob, but it's not merino. But I'm very excited with all the stuff I created. And I finally broke through my stupid 3-ply loose weight log jam. For which I will probably decide to make the other yarn lace weight. I'm terrible. Or would be. That was like, I was talking about that, where it's like, I'm just accepting where I'm at right now. I don't want to change. And then I did manage to take a step back and change what I was doing and make some different yarns, some yarn that will hopefully be a little bit easier to use. So in that regard, it was pretty successful. And I definitely have plenty to do. Like, what would it be in terms of like whip count right now? Like, it's pretty high. So now is the time to sit down and focus and sort of gather all of my plans together, and I think it'll be good. It's just the case where I think I expected to accomplish so much more today, but perhaps I'm just paying for applying all day yesterday. Who knows? I don't anticipate any changes to the recording schedule in the next couple of weeks. which is good. I don't know, or if it's the case for something like it moves around a little bit, but not too crazy. Would it be looking forward to meeting up in person with my Berkeley Nutters, so that should be exciting. I'd be very excited if the wind and craziness stopped, but whatever, I'll just be hiding out in my house in my blanket fort and calling it good, making my soup. Yeah, would it be, and as usual, I always love hearing about what you guys are up to. Would it be, are any of you guys participating in Stash Dash? Would it be, did you have a lovely Stash Dash Friday? I was happy to hear. And would it be, and it has been a lot of fun participating on Discord. Some things will be different, which is why I have a spreadsheet, because I did my brain dump into a Ravelry post usually. And I might just do like a traditional style Stash Dash post on this episode thread, just and start throwing stuff in there. I'm not sure. I am terribly behind in posting Instagram photos, so that's going to take a little bit of time as well. I'll have to figure out how to group them organically so that they make sense. But it shouldn't be too crazy, but maybe slightly. Would it be? So, should be good. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.